Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of Tara's third Thursday webinar series. We are here with Josh Heath. We're going to be talking about all things automation. So just kind of hold on for a minute, as we typically do. We're going to give it a minute or two to let everybody who's had some technical difficulties or maybe be finishing up a phone call or something like that have an opportunity to get in. So we will start promptly with the meat of the presentation here in about 2 minutes. So just hang tight. Now, there's definitely some friends out there from folks I saw. Paul, you saw them too, Josh, last week at RLA.
Oh
So
yeah, we were the talk of the town. A lot of people looking forward to this call at RLA. Put a little pressure on me. I like it.
that's great.
Yeah.
I just hope I'm knocking on wood for everybody out there that they didn't catch the same bug that I caught while I was out there. So if my voice, I mean, obviously, I think you guys can hear it. It's not quite what it used to be, but so just be patient with me today and appreciate it. My it's just got bad chest cold, but we'll get through it. And again, we're just kind of waiting for folks to log in here, and we'll get started in just probably under 60 seconds here. So just hang tight. All right. I think we can go ahead and get started. That's enough time. People are starting to figure this thing out. This is how we operate. Um,
hmm
so again, welcome everybody to the February 2024 edition of Terra Third Thursday webinars. Before we get started, just have some general announcements to talk about the things that are relevant to Terra and relevant to you all. But before we do that, first, I got to put this up there, right there. This person right here, he runs on swag. So I have to give a special thank you to Pam, Steed, and Scott Levin with Chip Sales. They sent me some beautiful stuff here in the last week, and it's been perfect timing. There was a blanket, there was this beautiful hoodie, another hoodie, and being sick here the last couple of days, I've been curled up in all that stuff. So thank you for all that wonderful swag. If anybody has some swag out there, they're like, oh, I'd like to see Steven wear that on a Terra Third Thursday. I'll take it. I will wear it. So, but with that, we'll continue on. So again, thanks again for joining us. Those of you that have been in this before, you kind of know how these go. They're relatively brief and to the point. We spend, no more than 45 minutes, talking about topics that we think are, valuable to you, news you can use, things that can help you, improve your business and bottom line. And today we are, very pleased, or I'm very pleased to present our host and sponsor for today's webinar, which is Josh Heath with WipeOS, and he's
Yes,
going to be
very
talking
happy to be
about,
here.
thank you, how to add automation and ease of use to your process. But before I turn the presentation fully over to him, I just again have a couple of announcements to make. First, want to give a quick shout out to those renewing members here in February, and odd that we have a very small number for February, just the way it kind of happenstance. But we have 3 certified members that are renewing with us. Relectro, who was one of our founding members, so we thank you. Guys have been around since the very beginning, one of our earliest members. Same with Seam up there in South Dakota. Great partners, been investing in this organization since its beginning. And then Eviterra, who joined us last year, and we're welcoming them again as a renewing member. As I kind of briefly mentioned, uh, Tara was at RLA last week, and we got to see a lot of our members. It's great to see if people like Airfield Technologies and Blanco and JKA Logistics and others. And we're going to be doing, after actually mentioning JKA, in April they're going to be doing, excuse me, May. In May, they're going to be doing our webinar, and then we talking about logistics, something that I've been wanting to do on this channel for a long time. So we're finally going to be talking about logistics. Um, but one of the kind of big topics that came out of the previous week, and then also was discussed a little bit at RLA, was kind of the change and shakeup that's happened in our industry's conference schedule, which is now that Siri and R2 have partnered and purchased the e-reuse conference. And that conference is now going to be rebranded as the Electronic Sustainability Summit, and that's going to be happening in October. I think it's the 22nd through the 24th in Austin, Texas. And for our members, we were a sponsor of that event last year when it was the e-reuse conference. Obviously, eScrap e-reuse was together. We'll do the same again this year, and we'll be able to provide some member discounts to for those who are looking to attend. We're not going to get exhibitor discounts, but we will get attendee discounts to pass along to you all. Um, so as we go through this process here, today's presentation, if you have questions, please use the chat feature. Please use the question feature. I'll be monitoring that and ask some questions as we go. But without further ado, I want to start moving things along and present our presenter, Josh Heath, the president of WipeOS. Um,
Hey,
so
happy to be
welcome.
here,
Thank you.
Steven. I gotta. You've done a great job. I gotta let you rest your voice, man. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself and your business. I thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna give this thing a rest for a
yeah,
minute.
you've done a great job, and the terror organization's fantastic. I know. Oh, I feel like this is one of those communities where I kind of know everybody, but at the same time, it's always a new kind of fresh team, fresh group, fresh perspective. So I know exactly what we're getting into, and I can do a good job of kind of, um, presenting myself and introducing myself. So I'll kind of do just that here. So basically, I am Josh Heath, the one and only, the one that I know anyway. So this industry when it comes to kind of titles and things, I think it's interesting and fun because a lot of us are small businesses, right? Somewhere along the way I said, hey, president seems to fit for what I do. And frankly, I've done a lot in my career in ITAD and with WipeOS. It is this really fun thing. We have this opportunity to connect with users, with um, people in the industry that are, starting new businesses that are very developed and have been around for a while. And I feel like I have a unique relationship or understanding with that because I was in an ITAD space 18 years ago at the ground up. Long story short, I was networking after a year deployment overseas in the Army, and it's one of those things where you come back from experience like that and you get an opportunity sometimes at an older age to sort of network with everybody and understand, okay, who's doing what in business, who's doing what in careers, and it was really neat to sort of frankly stumble across ITAD to kind of go, okay, we can take this equipment, collect it, manage it as a service, and then make decisions about, does it go end of use and get recycled, does it get reused and resold for considerable revenue, and along the way you start creating some jobs, along the way you start actually creating a real business. And again, the fact that Terra exists, the fact that we have conferences and the scale that we do, I would have never thought in a million years. I thought we were just doing this little old business that just might work, and it's now turned into a very big industry. So um, end of the day, my big aha kind of shifting from working in an ITAD to pursuing things with WipeOS was this opportunity to kind of really focus on efficiency and a value add as a service, but also just this again, this conversation of how do you do this the right way? What are the best practices? What are things that people and companies care about? And it's not an easy answer, that's for sure. I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out, and we're doing that
Hmm.
working with our clients. So I always love the idea that, can give out 100 laptops to 100 companies, and everybody will do something a little bit different from beginning to end. And that just has been truer and truer and proven and proven time and time again. So, um, bottom line, yeah, Josh Heath is the current president here at WipeOS. We're a small group. Um, my developers are across the hall from me. It's another big thing I'm really starting to appreciate as we do this more. The team approach is very real, and our relationships with our partners, our clients, is what has gotten us here. So happy to be here and glad to get into this. Steve, I do you want to keep save your voice some more? Do you want me to keep rolling? I
No,
didn't know
yeah,
if you.
just keep
Okay,
going. You know, that was great.
good, good. Because I know generally you do the kind of a little bit of that part, so I hope I did you
No,
justice
I
there.
appreciate it. I really do.
Definitely. Um, all right, so a little bit more about me, I guess, no, and about WipeOS and what we're up to. Again, we came out of the ITAD industry. I mean, that piece of it I think is really unique. I mean, there are some others that can kind of may have a similar story or say the same thing, but it has always been, this idea that we can relate to our users. We've been in the trenches, um, not the war ones, but the work ones. We do know a bit about this. I mean, I think one thing I've always appreciated is this isn't a conversation about trying to tell you how to run your business, trying to tell companies what to do and what not to do. It's really, understanding, okay, what are you trying to achieve? What are your business goals? What kind of equipment are you working with? What are you know, your components to make this hum? So what I've always kind of really focused on is things, around having flexible sanitation options and solutions. What I mean by that is there's sometimes you might have to pull a machine apart and get that drive or that storage media out and get in there. There may be times you're processing complete machines and it's a lot easier workflow, and that's kind of the one that I really try to focus on. And then things move into more workflow and process kind of conversations around, are there integration opportunities with the data that's collected, with the process that happens in each step? You definitely don't want to do things, well, obviously, you don't want to repeat the same steps over and over. You want to limit touches. Anytime I hear about someone that's doing something with any manual data entry, even if it's typing, I know there's an opportunity to improve things because I've seen some really well developed processes where they get this thing down to, boot a machine, click one or two things, maybe scan a barcode, and it's done. Tested, inventoried, wiped, imaged, all of it. And you have to work at that. I mean, we'll get into it a little bit more, but
Hmm.
that's been a really neat thing to see that develop and happen.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
talked a
and the
little bit
bottom.
before you.
Oh, go ahead.
We talked a little bit before this started. We were just kind of you talk a little bit about training. The value and importance of that. That kind of understanding people's processes and bringing back to them a solution that works. But then making sure that you're back in front of them to as 6 months, 8, 9 months, 12 months goes by that you're back, you know, refining and helping people that may have forgotten a step.
Oh man, it is more true the longer I do this that this is not a set it forget it. This is something that
Mhm.
everybody that's involved, and again, I think this is where that experience from being on the floor and doing this myself, I want to talk to those guys and gals. I want to make sure they know that we're here, that we're not just, a manual and a software and good luck. It's hey, okay, management and operations, yeah, let's make sure we're all on the same page, but can we make sure, this isn't something, and it still happens a lot, it's something that kind of is delegated out, and by the third or fourth person removed from the training or the conversation, they're kind of just going, all I was told was to put these drives in that thing, right? And you're kind of like, it helps to give them a little why, and sometimes, I mean, we've
Yeah.
had fun with this. We do data destruction days. We started this year. I kind of started a specific day to try to motivate and goal set and have some things around, hey, let's try to clean up the warehouse in this particular day and get as much stuff done, and it doesn't have to be just a total routine kind of mundane task. It can be, you can find ways to make it, have some fun with it. So yeah, to your point, communicating with the teams and sort of managing that communication. I mean, it's it's a thin line between trying to respect how a business operates, and let them figure it out and manage how they want to manage, to kind of telling them, look, we're having the same conversations over and over, or your team is sort of make doing things in ways that are making things harder, and if we can all just communicate and get in sync here, it makes the load a lot lighter. So it's a new sort of challenge in a lot of ways for us, just as we scale and as we grow. We've got to
Mhm.
get better at knowing how to lead companies through that process.
And just one little quick question on the
Yeah,
flexibility piece. Um, I think one of the big complaints that I certainly heard, I know was being talked about throughout the industry for a while, was in relation to R2V3 and a lot of the things that they were doing that were very prescriptive and not necessarily providing as much flexibility to those that were in the ITAD business to be able to be innovative. Have you found, working with your clients that you're able to give them the flexibility they need?
yeah, yeah. No, that's a great point, because there's been in all of this compliance and sort of following these third-party guidelines, there's an ask to say, hey, can you guys just be the easy button? Can you guys just do this for us, kind of a thing? Well, the good and bad of it is it's not our responsibility, and it's on the onus is on the company or the client to have these policies and things figured out. We certainly support all of that. We make it a lot easier, having certificates of destruction, having clear records of where things go and accountability. I mean, frankly, for me, in the last, I'd say 5 years, that has taken such a big jump from, again, there was a time it was acceptable to just have spreadsheets. I mean, it was totally fine. You have something. Now, you try to pass an audit with just spreadsheets, you get laughed out of the building, and as you should, because there's just too many errors. It's too easy. It's just too much liability. So kind of around R2 and some of these things as far as the challenges that come with it and there's been a lot of times where I've asked, can we just get a gold star that says WipeOS is R2 v3, supports R2 v3, and they have a role to play, and they kind of say, hey, look, we got to stay neutral. We can't
Hmm.
necessarily just endorse a software that way. But we're doing some new things actually around the whole 5% verification has been exactly that, a very sort of tricky gray area. Um, in the industry. There's a lot of people who thought, oh, I have to use a separate software to comply with that 5% because it said third party. Well, third party actually was clarified to me that was a separate person in their process in their facility. We won't get too into all of this, but we
Hmm.
finally just recently got to a place as a team and as a group where we could kind of own a feature, a new feature that we're putting out that will be a built-in 5% or built-in verification process that is compliant with the R2v3 guidelines. Because for a long time it was kind of vague, and from a technical perspective, we really didn't get it. We thought,
Hmm.
okay, now they want to do forensics testing on every drive or a percentage of drives. That's completely too expensive and unrealistic, and it wasn't what they were really looking for. So anyway, we've gotten some more guidance from that. The good people over there have had good communication with us. I mean, I don't at all want to sound like there's any ill will or shade there. It's
Right,
it's
right.
a great group, and it's actually helped us. It's helped us a lot to be able to get some uniformity and some best practices around this whole subject. So getting back to
Mhm.
my very full of text overview here. It's funny because now I, of course, do have it basically memorized. I love this. So there is the whole story of the 100 laptops to 100 different companies. I mean, this is something I brought up a couple of years ago, and every time, it continues to be more true. It's just there isn't one way to do this right, at least not today, right? Like if there were, there would probably be one company to rule them all, and that would be how the industry rolls. Well, it turns out
Mhm.
everybody's getting different gear, everybody's got different priorities. I mean, there's so many factors about around why are you doing it this way? What is the business goals? What are the outcomes? So I always like to look at kind of laptops. The process is pretty straightforward. But essentially, what all of this is kind of saying is, look, you've got one way to kind of go through it, test it over here, move it again to bench over there, move it again to someone over here, and eventually you get the thing in and out of the facility, and money's made along the way. The biggest value add that has come along outside of our erasure, components of WipeOS
Mhm.
is that now you have a way to boot the thing once, inventory everything in there, test it, image it, wipe it. The idea is really like this guy here, he touches that machine once and it's done. By the time he shuts it down and he walks away, it's in inventory, it's in the ERP, it's maybe already on a list that's for sale already sold, and you've
Mhm.
you've got some real automation there that um, it's existed in different ways, but I think it just keeps getting simpler and simpler. Now, it's ITAD, so there's always a side note, right? There's other devices that don't boot so easily. Apple devices, for example, aren't as user friendly in a Pixie environment. You know, we have come up with ways to work with that, and we always are kind of finding, um, yeah, I won't call them workarounds, but additional ways to approach
Mhm.
things to make them work. And I think that's another piece of this automation conversation that, what's true today, and this is for myself, any of my competitors, it's going to change in 6 months. There's going to be new
Exactly.
features, it's going to be better, it's going to be new gear that we might not have seen. So you have this always, you kind of have to always review it And even with like a 1 or 2 click process, you're still gonna have to come back and make sure, okay, does that still stand up? What else can we do?
Yeah, and every few years you can expect Microsoft and Apple to completely revamp their iOS in some manner, right? So you got to stay on top of that continuously. I'm sure that's a real challenge.
Yeah, we've gotten into more of the imaging recently. We've kind of done some stuff around our imaging capabilities. That's really exciting. But yeah, the song and dance of working with Microsoft is a bit different, and there are things we won't get into, but on the horizon that are going to shake up all of our worlds once again. I think it'll be good for us in the industry, but just different, just different. As soon as we get
Hmm.
comfortable, things change. So the other kind of subject around the automation that I wanted to highlight is a little bit more, back to kind of the basics for WipeOS. I mean, we came out of what you see there is one of the first large wiping rigs or setups that we worked with. We helped the client build that out. It's all server gear that they had with one of our appliances. But the bottom line is that has to be updated regularly as well. The hardware wears out, it gets beat up, different things come in. I mean, you know, it's it's just not one of those things that you can set and forget and walk away. So a lot of times when we're talking about just the core of wiping drives, whether it's loose drives like this or drives in systems, it is a there are almost 2 or 3 silos to kind of think about, and how this is going to go. Because wiping drives loose is a entirely different workflow than stuff you're going to leave in laptops and servers, and there's challenges to each way you do it. So when I think
Hmm.
about the sanitization autonomy, or you're creating an automatic process there, um,
That's a
that's a mouthful. Oh, I also
it
just
is.
learned in our RLA that I can no longer call wiping, by the way. It is sanitization because that's the
Well, then
technical
you
term
got to
for what's
change your
happening.
branding then.
I got to
Sanitization
change everything.
OS.
I have to change everything. Yep, Sanatoys is what I kind of came up with, or something like that. Yeah, but Mr. John Michael from the Chia project, or I forget his name now, brilliant guy. He's probably here and he's laughing at me, but he definitely was talking right to me in the presentation, saying, "Look, wiping is not the best way to refer to this stuff. It is technically sanitization," and I am listening to that, and it is true. But um, regardless, I digress. So when you're talking about automation and things, again, the bottom line here that I was trying to get home is loose drives and sanitization, and that whole category is one thing. Your whole process for complete systems, doing things, with drives, keeping them in there, it's a whole nother conversation. It could be a whole nother team. I mean, we have
Yeah, so
users
that's
that,
what it sounds like. It's like line by line, process by process. You've got to have flexibility to be able to make it work within their business rules, in addition to within what other certifications they may be responsible for.
yeah. And one of the others in the industry, they'll go unnamed, but they're pretty big. They do a great job with doing this, with making the conversation clear about, hey, there's a business workflow and sort of how you're processing everything, then that's a whole, bigger conversation and thing to manage. Then there's kind of scaling it down, just saying, hey, we got a bunch of drives that just need to get wiped. Okay, that's simple. Just get them in a machine and get them going. So there's probably some things in the near future I'm cooking up to sort of, you know, separate out this conversation a little bit and make it a little bit easier to digest. But as far as getting back to, again, some of our core principles and sort of what I've worked towards, it is this ease of use idea. We've basically had 2 CEOs since WipeOS has started, very different personalities and people, both completely agreed from day one, this thing's got to be easy to use. Ease of use,
Hmm.
or else don't do it. Don't make something that you're going to make people frustrated. You're going to make people, not understand. They won't use it. I mean, we have enough frustration with our tech just trying to get on webinars, just trying to do our day-to-day stuff. I had my car did an update the other day, which is a statement I never thought I would say, but it's
Oh my
an
gosh,
EV
I haven't run
Tesla,
across that. Oh, it is. It's up.
brand new, stuck in the garage for an entire day because it wouldn't pass the 10% update. And Elon's probably going to reach out to me after this and I'll disappear. But no, it was mine. I mean, I was so excited to have it. A whole boring long story, but but here we are. No matter how technical we get or the devices we get, things just are always not as easy to use as they should be. But
Yep.
again, in our little corner of
Oh,
this
it's
stuff, I mean,
crazy.
it. Yep, yeah, it was wild. Okay, I will tell the story then real quick.
Yeah.
It showed 10%. It held on 10%. I couldn't move out of the garage. First day home with it, I'm like, this is so exciting. I'm gonna go drive it to work. This is
First day
awesome.
home.
First day. And I call their support, and they only do text. There's no humans, it's just text. And they sent
AI.
yep, totally, it was. And they sent a tow truck. I mean, quick. Tow truck guy shows up. The guy's classic tow truck guy, knows nothing about EVs or any of this. Gets in it because I'm like, yes, if you can get it going, great. He's like, I have no idea. Flicks a switch or two, it lights up, starts up, and it's worked great since. So, so yeah, it was quite the experience, and so there's my feedback so far for the EV market. At the same time, I'm loving the thing. We just had tons of snow here. It was great to have a big heavy car.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, back to back to the ease of use
Yeah.
of erasure and processing gear. The whole thing is, yeah, you can't have tools that don't work either. You can't have a solution that needs a significant update and interferes with production. I mean, this does relate in a few ways. I might be reaching a little, but the point I wanted to make on the ease of use at this stage is it isn't just that the software works and that's easy to use. It's also that there's a communication or ability for the team members and the users to communicate with the people that built it. So for
Mhm.
us, our developers are on the support tickets. Our developers are in the conversations with our users. And so instead of me all the time having to say, hey guys, the way we designed this or the way we're making this happen, people aren't getting it, or this one guy is complaining, they're hearing, if there is something that's just not easy to use, they're hearing it the same questions over and over, which drives developers completely insane. Even the great guys I have, they don't like getting the same question more than once. It's written down somewhere. Um, but you can imagine. I mean, again, as we get into some of this stuff, talking about your workflows and the sort of the backbone of your process, especially in ITAD, um, it gets complicated. I mean, you can get a lot of input. You can get a lot of people that say, well, we want this to happen this way because, and you have to listen, but you also have to be honest about, well, if you just do it this way, one click, it's ready today, and you can move on.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, nothing else really about that. So these are kind of the things I like to look at when we're thinking about, again, processing and the various things that go into it, because it used to be a little bit more of a conversation like, hey, get your device or get set up and get started, and let's figure out your process. Well, it's a lot easier to eat the elephant, so to speak, with those smaller bites, to kind of say,
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about your loose drives. Okay, let's talk about, well, what is your most valuable gear you have coming through? I mean, this kind of obvious questions, but sometimes technical people will focus on the hardest problem to solve. Out of the gate, they're just like, yeah, we have three of these really weird computers we've never seen. Can you fix this? And it's like, well,
Mhm.
maybe we'll get to that, but how about the 10,000 you just brought in that we process every
Right.
day? And so it's it's a challenge. I mean, this is more of that customer service stuff and support stuff. But when you try to say, okay, we're easy to use and we want to make this easy, it is kind of funny how sometimes that gets kicked around into different ideas. Um, but I always like to kind of start through a list like this. What are your most
Mhm.
valuable items? What are your largest volumes? Like, let's try and focus on work together to focus on the biggest need and the not necessarily just the most frustrating. But we do a lot of that too. I mean, I will say this is another unique thing in this space is my competitors are also my allies. Like there's times that we haven't been able to solve a problem or we don't have a feature for certain devices.
Mhm.
That's fine. I still want my client still needs to get the job done. I still want them to get the desired outcome. And there's been, plenty of times of maybe not direct referrals, but maybe a shared um, explanation, or to say, here, we know a lot of our users are working with so and so. We've seen great
Mhm.
things with these arrangements, and we've tried to do more this year to do more partnership conversations and things. And there's definitely, like I said, a I think a healthy um, competition, what do they call it? Co-opetition sort of thing out there. I
Yeah,
mean,
and there needs to be. It's everybody's going to have different ways of approaching their business. Some are big companies, some are smaller companies. You guys are, you can be, very high touch with your customers. Your developers are right across the hallway from you. You know, uh, there's the kind of value of maybe getting a problem solved quickly versus maybe a more comprehensive solution. But it's that variety in the marketplace that keeps innovation moving.
it is, and I'm appreciating it these days more than ever because it if this would have happened in a way where okay, yeah, there's just best practices just this way, and we're all going to follow that, and then it's just a matter of kind of sales and relationship stuff. I mean, it's just not as much fun. I like having something about having the team working with me, and we're trying things, and they're trying things, and everybody's kind of keeping at this. It's nice. I think it's a very kind of healthy. Um, Competition and business to be in. So um, some of this, and this goes right into my next slide here. Very nice.
Hmm.
So I mean, there are different reasons to work with different solutions, right? And there's what I always kind of try to find out quickly in our conversations, and not just from a sales perspective, but just in general, what does success look like? What does a good system? What's the finish line? Where are you guys trying to get to? And sometimes just starting those conversations, I mean, it opens up a lot. And I've seen teams on the receiving end, even on the calls with us kind of watching, it's just these aren't that hard of questions. They should have answers, but they quickly, you can see their business is not prepared. They haven't planned. A lot of times, they'll take on third-party software expecting that we'll just wave a wand and everything, we'll just tell them how to do things and how their business should run. And I
Hmm.
definitely appreciate this attitude that we've had, or this idea that we've had, that is, you know, it's your business. We respect your business. We're not going to tell you how to run it. You can certainly tell us how we should run ours. People do that all the time. And the more constructive input is usually, ideas about features and workflows, and we love that. That's awesome. But sometimes it goes beyond that, and we've had people out there testing our software who we never asked to, just test it, use it, great, but you don't need
Hmm.
to try it on the most random thing you can find. But hey, it's all right. So what I'm getting at though is that again, there's the relationship piece to this is huge, and in a business, understanding what they're trying to achieve is key. I think a lot of organizations probably look to, I don't want to say just price, but that's always a big one. That's kind of, what can I, how can I get a certificate of destruction for the cheapest price? And then they, kind of make it a commodity. Well, sorry, but there's a lot more to that. Because if that's your only focus, you're missing out on a lot of other opportunities to make sure you're getting more value out of your team, you're getting scalable processes. I mean, it goes on and on. So it is in the industry, I think, too. There's such a fractured space in ITAD, and now it's kind of started to come back together a little bit, where, bigger groups have gotten some smaller groups, things have kind of consolidated a little bit, and everybody's realizing again, touch time is one of the biggest priorities or measurable things that you can, add value to your business and operation. Um, so again, with other softwares, you're probably going to have a couple tools. You may change tools from time to time. And it's not
Hmm.
just the onboarding, it's the ongoing, have we reviewed this? Yeah, we got this right. We like it. Okay, let's check again and make sure. I'm doing more with my team to try to get people on site and do some site visits. It hadn't been such a big deal in the past, but we've realized now, a lot of things happen that we don't see, and a lot of the opportunities are missed because we're not aware that they're, business are doing things outside of our scope that we could help with. So there's a lot
Yeah,
around the review.
yeah. I mean,
Yep.
you can't have true automation without continuous inspection. You've got to make sure that you're constantly refining your processes to be as efficient as you possibly can. Um, Otherwise, you're gonna be left with, you're gonna be left behind.
Well, the biggest shift in my from where I sit is around this integration piece. I know this is again too much text, but regardless, the what's happened is again all these tools, a lot of ERPs and inventory softwares are really great at what they do, as well as, a lot of my competitors and our sanitization solutions are great at what we do. But there was sort of a divide for a long time. And now the fact that you're able to kind of integrate these tools, multiple tools, and get that's where the bulk of some real automation comes from. I mean, again, communication with, for example, with me and my team will get you a lot, but then to have that follow through all the way through your billing, your account management with your clients, even some of your follow up, to be able to say, okay, well, we know we got all of these assets and we know exactly what happened to them in detail. And 6 months, 6 years, whenever from now you want to review that, we still have that information and we have these systems in place to make sure these aren't just kept in weird folders and again, spreadsheets in obscure
Hmm.
places. Everything's in one place. So I've really valued our ability and our partners across the board with the ERP side, anybody we've integrated with. I mean, this idea that you can take a software like ours, get all the machine details, just that piece of it, automatically gathering the device details, and it's 100% accurate. From there, everything kind of becomes downhill. It becomes a little bit simpler. You're not worried about, did somebody fat finger the gigahertz? Did somebody, put something somewhere else? Because that
Yep.
stuff does happen all day, every day, and it can cost a company a lot. It can cost, I mean, you lose a contract. I mean, just think, one drive isn't accounted for, and somebody comes out of the woodwork and calls it out, you're not getting that
Hmm.
pickup again. That stuff's not coming through anymore. So the long and short of it, really, when I look at automations and the value of it, it is a key piece of this is the integrations as well, because frankly, there's so much involved in each step and each piece of the puzzle or the machine that it's nice to have again the solution like ours that's focusing on these key aspects, and then there's a handoff to focus on a lot more of the maybe the client facing stuff, a little more of the reporting, and frankly the gear that we don't touch. We're not touching printers and scanners and the monitors and these things. So it's a
Hmm.
nice way to get everything in one place, and once it's there, I mean, again, it's just so much easier to be able to manage these things, do more with it. Um, and technicians to understand why they're doing the things they do. I think that's always kind of an interesting takeaway where we kind of start prying or asking the questions about their process, and it's a little bit of we've just done it that way, or I was told to do it that way, and it's like, well, maybe you just change it a little. Maybe just we'll put this button right here for you, and you hit that one. Now you're done, instead of the six other
Hmm.
tasks you were doing on every machine over and over and over. So, um, yeah, it's the long and short is if you're not integrating your softwares, you need to have that conversation. Like, at least explore it. Not saying it's going to solve every problem. Some are trickier than others. A lot of people have in-house custom inventory systems, right? That's can
Hmm.
be really good. We've had some that APIs are all there, all the pieces are there. My guys go, cool, go, 2 weeks done. Other ones we go, boy, you built something out of, it was a software that was supposed to do something else. You've made it do
Hmm.
this. Good for you, but boy, we're putting a square peg in a round hole, and it happens. I mean, and we've worked that out. So I think that's kind of what I say too. In the yep, look at this. I'm going right through my topic.
Yep.
So the and it's such an obvious thing to say. Yeah, use your software for what it's intended for, but we all do it. I mean, I do it with my
So
gadgets
yeah,
and
I was
my
gonna
things
say,
too.
is that like the first question people should ask? Is like, am I using what I have properly?
I love that. I would love that, to be honest, because I think vice versa. We kind of make assumptions that we, what we're trying to get you to do or how to use our software. And so there is
Hmm.
this little kind of assumption area that shouldn't be there, frankly. It should be, hey, again, I'm trying to achieve this. Does your software do it this way? Man, I
Hmm.
don't get that question ever. I would love to get that question. Do you guys do it in this process? Here is our process step by step. Does this
Hmm.
fit? I think I have had some conversations that have gone that way, where a group had a well-defined, written out workflow and documented process, and then they said, here's how we want you guys to fit in that. And it worked really well. I mean, for a group like us, that's actually, I'll put it this way, the in-house, the developers here that have been here, some of them from the beginning, some that are newer, They just love a clear black and white, can you do this? Not
Hmm.
tell me. They don't want, developers don't want to hear from users, um, tell me how to do it. They want the reverse. They want to be told, hey guys, I'll show you a screenshot. This is exactly what we want it to look like. This is how we want this step by step to go. Boy, they light up on that stuff. It's great. They don't light up for much, but nice clear instructions, black and white things. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
they get
something they can
excited.
build. Yeah, they'll be all about it.
Exactly, exactly. And I mean, again, it's a funny thing because I on one hand want to say, here's our appliance, ease of use, easy button, hook it up and go, and it should be that simple. But I'm already making a ton of assumptions when I'm doing that, right? Like I don't really know what gear is showing up at their dock. What's their process
Yep.
to even get it on the bench? I mean, there's a whole bunch there. And again, that's where I like the integration stuff with the ERPs because or the inventory systems because it does help to get that wider story, that whole story. Why did you guys do it this way? Why aren't you barcoding or why are you? Why are
Hmm.
you, all the whys of the steps there. And once we get through a lot of that, I mean, that's where we can be confident we can come back to it when things change, when staff changes and people change, it's easier to plug things in and out and keep it moving. So I am definitely an advocate these days for, I wouldn't say there's just I would never propose to have WipeOS as your only solution for your whole operation. Like it's assumed that you might need one or two other things, not because we're not good at what we do. There's just some other things we don't do. We don't
Right.
offer um, weighing printers and tracking weights for your scrap, and that's not ever going to be part of WipeOS, and we don't intend to
Hmm.
get into any of that. So we try to focus on what we're good at, let others do the same, and work together. I think this is almost my last one here. So it's really just back to, some simple, really process ideas. So it's just making sure you have, things really, I always put it this way. If it's written down, it's documented, it's for real. It's there. It exists. If it's just conversations with team members and in the boardroom, kind of so to speak, they're ideas, but you're not going to have something that you can really hang your code on or think about and replicate and scale, right? So it's really about writing it down, following through, following up, and just kind of basic, simple process 101 stuff. I think beyond that, you know, there's some more stuff I kind of got in here, but there's a lot of
Hmm.
details in the, why do you use certain hardware? Why do certain people do certain tasks? Those are the questions again that if you ask them regularly, you'll dial things in for sure.
So where then are our members and friends going to be able to see you next? What's your kind of trade show schedule here for the next few months? You're
Yeah,
going to
good
going to be in some
question.
places.
Well, there is still the ITAD Summit that's going to be in Miami, and that one I'm
Hmm.
excited for. That's always a good turnout, great crew. So I've got that on the books. The one you mentioned at the top, what is ESS? Are they going to call it? What
Well,
are they calling it?
it's the Electronics Sustainability Summit.
Aha. See, I already did the acronym thing. That's my old army mind. Anyway, it sounds like a great one. I loved eScrap. I always had a good results from eScrap.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'd like, we're very proud of our ITAD community. We have a lot of work to do in it. We still have a lot of exciting things. My goal and our goal has been a complete solution for really IT professionals in general, but definitely in the ITAD space, to be able to do the testing, wiping, and imaging, and making that in a whole process and really simple. That is still, what we're determined to really polish up, make available. And so as we go to other events and do some other things, that's kind of the message I hope to kind of share and learn from others and share with others how to do that. Yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, if you want to leave somebody with one final thought, what might that be?
Collaboration. Like there's a lot of room for collaboration in this space. Again, competition's there, but also, there's just best practices, ways to achieve these goals, and again, how do we help this industry? Because I love the jobs we've created. Honestly, the people and friends in this industry I have, I just genuinely appreciate, and it's one of those things that um, we don't need to make things harder. If we all kind of have the right ideas and the right intentions, we can certainly make this a fun and profitable industry as it's been. So yeah, yeah. So let me know if you
Well,
got any ideas, send them my way. I like it.
all right. Well, thank you, Josh. You're a great host, great presentation. Didn't see any questions come in. I'm going to take that as you did such a good job that they didn't have to ask anything,
Yes.
and that reflects well on me as well. So I will take that too. All right, everybody. Again, I mentioned next Thursday is Thursday, March 21st. We'll be sending out some information here at the beginning of next month, and we'll look forward to seeing you then. Until then, thank you all and take care.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Josh.
Bye bye.
Appreciate it.